The dawn was still dim. The orange sun filled the artificially filtered sky, and Ulrich took his time slowly riding his cyber horse next to the morning traffic. He arrived at a skyscraper with a lovely park at its feet that had a fountain in the middle. Ulrich inhaled the moist morning bloom deep in his lungs, rejuvenating his brain with the extra oxygen. With his horse, he got inside the lift that took him to the 145th floor. He got off his beast and left it in the parking space next to a red truck. He knocked on the door with the number 145 on it.
Ulrich, is that you?
Heine opened the door, trembling.
Yes, it's me. How are you?
Oh, I look terrible this early in the morning.
She lifted her hand to her skull where once musket brown hair would have seduced any brave knight. Now, she didn't look much different from Freddy Krueger.
Yes, you do.
Ulrich looked down on what he once loved more than anything. Tears filled the girl's eyes. Her lips were quivering.
I love you so much!
She jumped into his embrace. Ulrich tapped her on the back faintly. Love had long succumbed. Ulrich liked to believe that there was no love for him in this world, and he preferred how cold and lonely such a thought made him feel. It was hope and freedom that he had obtained from this shallow equilibrium.
Come, get yourself ready. I want to take you to one of those beach cinemas.
He gently pushed Heine back and gave her an oceanic feeling with his glance.
Come in while I make myself ready.
Heine took him by the hand and invited him into her apartment. The slick Mustang walked around the living room, looking at a shelf with digital pictures on it. He took one from the shelf in which he had his arm around Heine and was smiling as bright as the sun into the camera. It was around that time when the picture was taken that Ulrich last smiled. He felt love and warmth for the ambitious, happy young man in the picture. He also admired how beautiful Heine was. The super cop smirked and put the picture back on the shelf. The powerful man sat down on the sofa, and on the pine tree table in front of him, holograms of koi carp circled like captured ghosts. There was a video game controller with 49 buttons and a box of tissues nearby. The girl was escaping reality and crying day after day. A little hologram dog jumped on the table and barked and wiggled his programmed tail.
Hey, bud, how you doing?
Woof, woof. He barked with a smile.
Are you looking after Hina? Does she play with you often?
Woof, woof. It was really a mental health program scripted to read and analyze the mood and emotions of a patient. It would automatically suggest tiny daily improvements, activities, or nutrition changes to decrease certain brain functions, keeping dopamine and endorphin levels suboptimal. If prescribed, the dog would indicate what medicine to take. Heine walked out of the bedroom dressed in a swimsuit. There was a time when she looked so sexy and alluring in that thing, but now the scarred skin ruined the fun for Ulrich. She wore a big straw hat with even bigger sunglasses and had a pink bag on her back.
I am ready.
She smiled like a child.
Are you going like this?
The young girl was only wearing a swimsuit.
No, you silly. I will put a coat on.
Oh, she was so happy to see Ulrich again. She had been lonely since the accident, and she had craved him for many rainy days and windy nights. She hugged Ulrich and leaned on his enormous strong back while riding on the steel horse. The bright sun rays kissed the couple, an enormous honor for creatures as small as the inhabitants of this world who were not much different in size from germs accumulating space dust in the jolliest of ways. The couple arrived at the complex with the palm trees shortly. A place of white, deep-sea blue, and bright green colors. A building built just last year. The walls were still superbly white, and the whole structure had a reasonable amount of synthetic scent still present. The palm trees were nice and green, the flower beds were still young, and the sand was still fresh, with a tiny bit of saltiness from the ocean. Clean was the way Ulrich preferred public places. Even the slightest bit of microbes, dust, and dirt would bother his mind and disrupt the act of relaxation. They entered the building and, after negotiating the payment and receiving the fragrant towels, entered the bright UV-rich cinema room with heated sand up to the very front of the big screen. Ulrich and Heine had decided against the brain augmentation programs at the reception because they wished to converse and enjoy more of a calm experience of togetherness. A lot of scenarios were possible to fabricate. To experience endless fictitious mosaics of color or scenes of a holographic paradise of palm trees and birds with fantastic tales sparkling in a variety of colors. One can simply change the scene with the power of his mind whilst observing. Even floating manta rays glimmering on the ceiling and graciously floating jellyfish and octopuses flying in the clearly filtered air were an option. After around half an hour, the lights grew fainter until darkness finally filled the room. Only the bright light from the screen flashed onto the tiny sand dunes, which now felt slightly colder, creating shadows. The film was a romantic comedy about a young man falling in love and getting married to his cyber cat girl, who was a mere clinging sex bot. Ulrich absolutely hated the film, but remained chill in the calming atmosphere. Some of the people there looked at Heine's burnt skin, but not one of them truly cared to look more than twice.
Remember how we used to spend time together? Those were good times. I like those times.
Heine looked down and played her fingertips through the sand. Ulrich looked at her and grinned.
Those were the good times.
He did miss those old good times, but he also didn't allow his mind to retreat to a place where he would make himself believe that a return to these pleasant thoughts and feelings were once again possible. They were long gone, shattered mirrors in the wind of a cold, forgotten desert.
It was true love.
She wanted Ulrich to confirm it?
More of an egoism, dude.
He did not spare her feelings one bit.
I don't know what that is.
The girl confessed in a tone revealing low expectations for it to be anything good.
You know what? Let's just get some food.
Ulrich felt hungry, but not for romance.
Okay.
Ahina hoped he would take her for some kimchi. She was addicted to the stuff. For her, the second most beloved thing in this world right after Ulrich was kimchi. She could eat kimchi 3 times a day. No problem. When they left the complex on the back of the robot horse, it was already late in the morning. The sky was orange, alternating in color because of the toxicity of the atmosphere. No need to space travel to Mars anymore for a vacation. The same orange was right here on planet Earth. They rode to a Korean barbecue place that had free kimchi refills so that Heine could get stuffed on it. The place had a raging fire on the roof as an advertisement. Ulrich sat opposite Heine at the round table and gazed into her eyelashless eyes. He remembered all the beautiful feelings he once felt for her back then when she was beautiful, but now there was nothing. Just a roasted disappointment that was sitting next to a grill. What a tragic and comically awkward situation. Ulrich missed Heine's beautiful long hair. He missed her clear skin, her seducing eyebrows. She was there now opposite him, but she really wasn't there anymore.
You are going to eat 3 kilograms of meat, aren't you?
She asked, making sure that Ulrich's diet hadn't changed.
Here, I like my breakfast light.
He needed to eat animals to stay hyperviolent. When you are the top tiger in the concrete jungle, you need to stay strong or you will become prey.
How is work, Ulrich? Still kicking ass?
She looked at his black armored suit with nothing but muscle beneath.
Work is fine. I feel some sort of a philosophical phase bothering me now. Thus, why is it that I kick thy ass? I feel like I have an urge to kick more ass, but where is this ass kicking going?
There is endless ass to kick.
Heine cheered. She liked kicking ass, too.
Yeah. I feel like lately I'm kicking ass super hard. Maybe too hard. That's why the chief gave me a day off today to see you.
We were once such a great team, even if they never ever let us go on the same operations.
You are not made for it.
He looked at her burnt skin. She had paid a high price for her pride. Heine once wanted to prove everyone at the police station wrong, but the only one she proved wrong was herself.
You have another woman, don't you, Ulrich?
Heine had been playing fantasies out in her head of Ulrich going out with other females, making out with them, creating relationships. She never told him this, but before the accident, she often thought about having a child from the magnificent beast. The genipool was beyond excellent, and she could already envision loving the child just because it would partly be the reincarnation of her man.
No, I do not have another woman.
Ulrich felt anxious and looked right down at the table like a guilty dog in pain. He knew there wouldn't be another one with a soul as clear as Heine's in his life lately. He even dared to imagine a girl even better than his Japanese ex. Maybe a Korean one. But he was just fooling himself, really.
It would be okay if you had one.
She felt embarrassed just for saying that. It wouldn't be okay. The girl still hoped for Ulrich to come back, but she couldn't imagine a way for it to happen. He had left her shortly after the accident when he first saw her hideous burns and into what she had turned. She felt another pain, an emotional burn on the inside for how Ulrich really was, for how he rejected her now with ruined looks. If he did not love her soul, then what did he really love in her then? Did he love her at all? All those days in the hospital with eyes full of tears seemed perpetual, and once released to keep healing at home, she fell into a lonely depression, for she had to struggle with life alone now. He left her with her pain. Hina knew that she spiritually had somehow changed too. That when changing the bandage around her body, she discovered that she had turned into a self-hating void. She had become a little more like Ulrich, and she figured that was the reason he couldn't love her anymore. That his true feelings had depth. She told herself these lies every day. Ulrich started putting the meat on the metal grill and preparing a mixture of sesame oil and salt to dip the cooked pieces into. It was a carnivorous ritual of his.
So tell me, Hannah, are you going back to work sometime soon?
The super cop dipped the first piece of meat in the oil and started chewing on it with delight. A loud explosion ripped one side of the restaurant open as glass, dust, and smoke flew across the room. The waiters screamed and tried to run to the kitchen, tripping over their own feet. Heine jumped in her seat, frightened from the deafening blast. Ulrich calmly took another piece of meat from the grill before the dust reached it. He sat there as if he didn't notice the detonation. The kid with the bowl cut, armed with 2 machine guns and armor, walked through the hole, screeching.
He's who? Where is he? Where's the bastard who dared to humiliate me? You shall now die, or ten.
He was geared up by the Yakuza to kill Ulrich.
I'm here.
Ulrich said with a full mouth, still nibbling on the meat that now tasted sour from the pathetic clown entering the restaurant with an attitude that pompous. He was not impressed at all by the colorful donkey with the London look. The clown-haired shithead turned the submachine gun he held in his left hand toward the super cop and unloaded. The recoil from the first bullet that missed knocked the barrel right up into the ceiling, where he completely unloaded it. Ulrich fell down on the table holding his stomach. Not in pain or bleeding. No, but from laughter at how his attacker had performed.
Did you see that? What even was that?
He had tears in his eyes and his face was turning red. He was laughing frantically.
Do something.
Hina was scared and begged him with her wide open eyes.
Do you see what I mean with an existential crisis?
Ulrich had trouble breathing and Heine started worrying that he could choke on that piece of meat he was still munching on. And before anyone could react, Ulrich had pulled the gun and fired it, hitting the idiot right between the eyes. In fact, people only started to realize what had happened when Ulrich had already put the gun on the table next to him. He was still holding the chopsticks in his other hand, but the meal was ruined.
I will ask the kitchen for some kimchi to go for you. I bet they will gladly help.
Ulrich cheered and got up, holstering his gun.
Let's go now. We can finish the feasting at your place.
The couple holding the to-go bags got on the cyber horse and left through a large gaping hole in the restaurant's wall. The punk was dead on the floor with blood running from his head onto the checkered black and white floor.